John Meacham, this is a perfect the buck stops here contrast with Donald Trump saying, I am not responsible. And what we could talk about ventilators, we could talk about the the Defense Production Act. We could talk about all the ways that Donald Trump keeps trying to pass the buck, keeps trying to say, I'm not responsible. Yesterday's example was particularly outrageous, saying it wasn't his job, it wasn't the federal government's job.
We're not standing on the streets testing.
To do testing. Yes, it is. It is the CDC's job. It has been the CDC's job. It was the Trump administration's job. They failed so miserably at it that the Food and Drug Administration said that if they were a private entity, they would shut down the CDC. And then 2 days later, on February 29th, the FDA finally threw their arms up in the air and said, OK, we're going to open this up to private testing. This is after one failure, after another failure, after another failure from the CDC and the Trump administration. And yet Donald Trump stands there yesterday lying to the American people again, saying it's not our job. It was their job.
Terrible.
They failed miserably at their job. That mistake, I think historians will probably estimate costs this country at least $2 trillion, having to shut down the economy because we couldn't track the coronavirus. And the president still shows no interest in taking the lead on testing.
Yeah. You know, and you can always tell when anyone, but particularly the president, is worried about something, because that increases the volume and the velocity of the denials and of the respinning of reality. And that's what he's been doing, right? For an average of an hour and 45 minutes a day. He comes out and makes his case. He's not conveying information. He's not, as Franklin Roosevelt said, preparing the American people, because the news is going to get worse and worse before it gets better and better, and the American people deserve to have it straight from the shoulder. Churchill did the same thing across the Atlantic brilliantly. This isn't that. What this is a defensive man who understands that at some elemental level, that this is why we have a federal government, is for a national kind of crisis like this. Look, we tried the Articles of Confederation in the 1780s, and there's a reason we decided not to do it that way. And the president is basically, I think, because he knows at some level that, as you say, the paper trail is there, the record is there, and I think our mind is across the Atlantic again this morning. I have a strong feeling that a shortened general election campaign is going to help Vice President Biden, because it's going to focus very intensely, I think, on this issue. Were we ready? And if we weren't, why not? And who do you want in charge of your affairs when inevitably we face something like this again?
Well, the president, during the press conference yesterday, and it seems when he's riffing, it stands out more. It seems a little less literate than usual. He said, quote, "We're doing really well." And the death toll from the coronavirus in the U.S. is now more than 10,000. And to put that in perspective, in about a 1-month span, more Americans have died from this virus than were killed on the battlefield during 6 U.S. wars combined. So I'm not sure
the
that's
American Revolution, the
really
War of 1812, the Mexican War, the Indian Wars, the Spanish-American War, the Gulf War. Mika, also, you can take the wars that have haunted this country over the past 20 years. You can actually start with 9/11. You can add the Iraq War, and you can add the Afghanistan War. More Americans have died in a month than have died over the past 20 years in these endless wars that Donald Trump has complained about.
Not doing so well. Willie?